So this second video is being made after class because I honestly just didn't have time, and the slide wasn't quite right. I had to fix something on it. But I'm going to finish these last few slides and encourage students with my email to watch this second video to get what they didn't get in class, and then use it if they need to when they're doing the homework. Because this first one here, at least, it's a word problem. We generally don't do well with those. So watch the video while you're doing your problem and see if you can get it right. So during a kayaking trip, a kayaker travels 12 miles upstream against the current and 12 miles downstream with the current. Find the speed of the kayak and the speed of the current. It takes 2 hours to travel the 12 miles with the current and 3 hours against the current. So let's see. The two unknowns here are the speed of the kayak and the speed of the current. So let me see. I'm going to call K equals the speed of the kayak. C is going to be the speed of the current. So now, nothing in the problem actually has anything to do with, well, I shouldn't say it doesn't have anything, but it doesn't directly tells us anything about speed. But it does tell us how far we went in how much time. So let's see, with the current, all right, the kayaker traveled 12 miles in 2 hours. So he went 6 miles per hour. Against the current, he did 12 miles in 3 hours. So that's only 4 miles per hour. Okay, now, if this doesn't seem immediately obvious to you, when you see it in the problem here, you'll know how you're supposed to deal with it in the homework problem. Okay. When the kayaker is going with the current, that means that both the kayak, or the effort that's going into it by the kayaker, and the current are together adding up to give us a speed of 6 miles per hour. When the kayaker is going against the current, they're actually working against each other. Then the speed of the kayak is working against the current, so it's K minus C, and that equals 4. Right, so with the current, the two speeds add together to give us 6. Against the current, the two speeds subtract to give us 4. That's a system of equations. We have two equations, two variables, and we should be able to solve it. Now, given that today's lesson is about elimination and solving by elimination by adding or subtracting, it would appear that if we could either subtract and cancel the K's, or we could add and cancel the C's. I think I'm going to add. Right? So add the two equations. 2K equals 10. So K equals 5. Okay, well, if the K is 5, then I can come up here. I can substitute 5 for K. And I find that the C equals 1. So the speed of the kayak is 5 miles per hour. The speed of the current is 1. Again, there's a very similar homework problem. If you watch what I did here while you're doing your homework, you'll get this. Okay, then that's going to leave us with a couple more problems which are where fractions or decimals are involved. So in this first one, we've got fractions. Just like we did in the homework last night, let's take a step that gets rid of the denominators so there's no more fractions. In this first problem, there's only one denominator, and it's 2. So if I multiply every term by 2, right, that's a distributive, I should cancel the denominator of 2. That'll give me 16x, minus y equals negative 76. Right? Remember, multiply everything by that. Okay, the second one, there's actually 2 denominators. So I should multiply by the least common denominator of those 2. Right? So least common denominator means what's the smallest number that both 4 and 2 divide evenly into? And the answer is 4. Again, distribute. The first term will give me x. The second term, 4 times negative 1/2, is going to give you minus 2. And let's see, equals negative 28. And you know, what I can see here is now we've turned this into a kind of a problem that we don't do in this section. So in order to, we could still solve it, we're just not going to get rid of the fractions. So let me go backwards. Right, as it is, the y terms, if we subtract these 2 equations, the y terms are going to cancel. So we'll just do that and deal with the fractions. Right, 8x minus 1/4 x would be 7 3/4 x. Negative 1/2 y minus negative 1/2 y cancels. And negative 38 minus negative 7, right? That'd be like plus 7 is minus 31. Okay, now with your calculator, it's actually a fairly simple thing to divide by 7 3/4, but let's do this. Let's turn the 7 3/4 into a improper fractions. 4 times 7 is 28, plus 3 is 31/4 x. Okay, now how do we solve for x when it's being multiplied by a fraction? We multiply by the reciprocal. Okay, on the left side we just get our x. On the right side the 31s are going to cancel and we get negative 4. Okay. Now we've got to go back up to one of the original problems. I think I'll pick the first one because it's only got one, it only has one fraction. So let me come over here. 8 times negative 4 minus 1/2 y equals negative 38. Right, that'll give me negative 32 minus 1/2 y equals negative 38. Add 32 to both sides. Negative 1/2 times y equals negative 6. Multiply both sides by negative 2. And now we'll get y equals 12. So the solution to this system of equations is the point negative 4, 12. And lastly, we've got a problem with decimals in it. And again, we can deal with the decimals, and I think in this case we're going to do it because we saw what just happened on the last problem. But we should get everything, we need to get these in standard form, right? That was the first The first requirement, step 0, was make sure your equations are in standard form before you start. So in this one right here, I need to get the x and the y term on one side, and I'm going to do that by adding 4.8x to both sides. And then I'm going to switch sides. 4.8x plus 1.7 y equals 4. And the second one is clearly not written correctly. That was supposed to be an x. Okay, and we had to actually sort both of these out and put them in standard form. So now this one is going to be 13.2 x plus 1.7 y equals, so if I move this one over, I've got to move the 12 point over, that'll be negative 12.8. Okay, now I'm going to have to subtract. Okay, let's just subtract. 4.8 minus 13.2. Right, you can use your calculator on that one. I think that's going to be 8.4, negative 8.4 x equals 4 minus negative 12.8 is positive 16.8. Divide by negative 8.4. X equals negative 2. And then to solve for the other variable, how about I'll go up here. 4 minus 4.8 times negative 2 equals 1.7 times y. 4 plus 2 times 4.8 is 9.6. So this is 13.6 equals 1.7 times y. Right, so y equals 13.6 divided by 1.7. Okay, and let's do the math on that. That should be, goes in 8 times. So the solution is negative 2, comma 8. And that is the end. And that is the homework.